Hey there, I'm your Quizmaster Sean, and welcome to Quiz Time. I've got 100 questions for you about the 40s, 50s, 60s, and the 70s, all of that time frame. So let's see what we remember. Let's have some fun, and let's begin with question number 1. Which European city served as a setting for the Third Man movie's plot? Vienna, Berlin, or Venice? And the setting was Vienna. What boxer won the heavyweight title against Joe Louis in 1950? Leon Spinks, Sugar Ray Leonard, or John L. Sullivan? And the winner was John L. Sullivan. Who sang Sunshine of Your Life for the first time in 1967? Was it Cream, Stevie Wonder, or the Beatles? That was Cream. What was the Jetsons' robotic maid's name? Rhonda, Rosie, or Roxy? The robotic maid's name was Rosie. Which actor plays evil murderer Bill Sykes in 1948's Oliver Twist? Oliver Reed, Anthony Newley, or Robert Newton? That was Robert Newton. In 1951, Bobby Thompson was a player for which team? The New York Giants, the Texas Rangers, or the San Diego Padres? It was the New York Giants. David Clayton Thomas headed up which group? The Youngbloods, the Birds, or Blood, Sweat, and Tears? He headed up Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Name the dog companion on Scooby-Doo that was not one of the following: Dynamutt, Mystery Mutt, or Scrappy-Doo? That would be Mystery Mutt. Which of the following series had a character named Nugget Nose? The Groovy Ghoulies, Heathcliff and Friends, or Buford and the Galloping Ghost? And that was Buford and the Galloping Ghost. Who played the corrupt gambler Whit Sterling in the 1947 film Out of the Past? Kirk Douglas, Edward G. Robinson, or Robert Mitchum? That was Kirk Douglas. Which one of the following superheroes goes by the civilian name Radley Crown? Red Raven, Blue Falcon, or Green Lantern? And that is Blue Falcon. Which golfer went on to win the 1954 LPGA Championship, from Olympic medalist to pros? Nancy Lopez, Billie Jean King, or Babe Didrikson Zaharias? That was Babe Didrikson Zaharias. Which 1970s cartoon series had characters Lori Gator and Braveheart? Inch High Private Eye, Speed Buggy, or Valley of the Dinosaurs? And that would be Inch High Private Eye. Which National Hockey League team was the 1958-59 Stanley Cup champion? The Dallas Stars, the New York Rangers, or the Montreal Canadiens? That would be the Montreal Canadiens. Germany's Federal Republic was established in 1949. The first chancellor was who? Werner von Braun, Konrad Adenauer or Eric Hayden? And that was Konrad Adenauer. What would you have been paid per hour in 1960 if you had accepted a minimum wage job? $1.50, $2, or $1 an hour? You'd be paid $1 an hour. What's the name of the 1960s film about an alien who gets corrupted by humanity? The Man Who Fell to Earth, Strange Planet, or I Come in Peace? And that would be The Man Who Fell to Earth. What threat did the U.S. Surgeon General make his first warning concerning in 1964? Smoking cigarettes, overpopulation, or drinking alcohol? He warned us against smoking cigarettes. Who was the guy who kicked for the Giants in 1958 and later became a broadcaster? Kyle Rote, Pat Summerall, or Don Imus? That was Pat Summerall. Which marshal from South Africa signed the agreements ending World War I and World War II? Jan Christian Smuts, F.W. de Klerk, or Christian Barnard? And that was Jan Christian Smuts. Who were the Phillies' home games? Where were the Phillies' home games during the 1950 World Series played? Sportsman's Park, Shibe Park, or Forbes Field? They were played at Shibe Park. Which fashion designers are credited with inventing the trend of hot pants? Mary Quant, Coco Chanel, or Pierre Cardin? That was Mary Quant. Name a 1970s comedy that follows the daily activities at a Los Angeles company. Buddy's Burgers, Car Wash, or Working Men? That was Car Wash. Which nation detonated a nuclear weapon for the 6th time on record in 1964? China, Brazil, or Australia? And that was China. What was the Philadelphia Phillies' well-known nickname in 1950? The Philly Phenoms, the Gas House Gang, or the Whiz Kids? They were the Whiz Kids. In World War II, what product is said to have saved the lives of soldiers, second only to guns? Dry socks, penicillin, or camouflage uniforms? They were saved by penicillin. Which of the following inventors created the novelty item known as a lava lamp? A British accountant, NASA, or Timothy O'Leary? That was a British accountant. Where did a partial core meltdown occur in a U.S. nuclear power facility in 1979? Guyana, Chernobyl, or 3 Mile Island? That was 3 Mile Island. What is another name for the Chevrolet Corvette, a vintage sports car? Stingray, a Roadrunner, or a Viper? And that would be Stingray. Who oversaw the Philadelphia Phillies in 1950? Bert Schotten, Chuck Dressen, or Eddie Sawyer? And that was Eddie Sawyer. Who succeeded the Netherlands' abdicated Queen Wilhelmina in 1948? Princess Juliana, Princess Beatrix, or Crown Prince Haakon? It was Princess Juliana. What nation imprisoned 52 Americans for 444 days at the end of 1979? Somalia, Saudi Arabia, or Iran? That was Iran. Who was the Yugoslavian leader who allowed foreigners to enter the country in 1967? Slobodan Milosevic, Tito, or Gamal Abdel Nasser? That was Tito. Which Missourian led the New York Yankees to the World Series championship in 1950? Casey Stengel, Jimmy Dykes, or Bucky Harris? That was Casey Stengel. Which politician from Latin America was appointed Communist Party of Cuba's first secretary? Fulgencio Batista, Fidel Castro, or Cesar Chavez? It was Fidel Castro. Which was the only one of the following that took place in the real 1970s? President Nixon resigned, John Lennon was killed, or the Apollo 2 moon landing? It was President Nixon's resignation. What flag did Canada choose in the acrimonious Great Flag Debate of 1965? The oak leaf, the fig leaf, or the maple leaf? They chose the maple leaf. In 1950, what location did the Welsh rugby players' plane crash? Sigingstone, Caernarfon, or Cardiff? It was Sigingstone. On October 24, 1945, what international organization was established? The United Nations, NATO, or the World Bank Group? In 1945, the United Nations was established. Name of the countrywide calamity involving avalanches near the Alps. Winter of discontent, winter of terror, or the winter of avalanches? The winter of terror. What did Mao Zedong start in May 1966? The Great Awakening, the Agrarian Revolution, or the Cultural Revolution? Mao started the Cultural Revolution. For what did Jim Jones gain notoriety in the 1970s? The Jonestown Massacre, the Texas Clock Tower Sniper, or the attempted assassination of President Ford? The Jonestown Massacre. In 1948, what invention by Edwin Land was put into production? The Frisbee, the microwave oven, or the Polaroid instant camera? In 1948, he put into production the Polaroid instant camera. What was the outcome of the American case Brown versus Board of Education? Kansas will be a dry state, schools can't be segregated, or evolution can be taught in schools? Schools can't be segregated. Who recorded the iconic song At Last and was born Jamesetta Hawkins? Etta James, Nina Simone, or Della Reese? That was Etta James. Who was the most medal-rich athlete at the 1948 London Olympics? Ann Curtis, Fanny Blankers-Cohen, or Veikko Huuhtanen? That was Veikko Huuhtanen. On March 2nd, which nation proclaimed its independence from France and Spain? Madagascar, Morocco, or Mali? That would be Morocco. Who penned The Death of a Salesman, which won the 1949 Pulitzer Prize? Arthur Miller, John Steinbeck, or Graham Greene? And that was Arthur Miller. Who performed the first successful heart transplant on a human being in 1967? Adolph Lorenz, Wilfred Bigelow, or Dr. Christian Barnard? That was Dr. Christian Barnard. Which well-known author died on January 12, 1976? Agatha Christie, William Safire, or Irma Bombeck? And that author was Agatha Christie. In which country was executed the last person of the 20th century? The US, Pakistan, or New Zealand? And that was New Zealand. In 1966, who took home the World Cup? England, Mexico, or Germany? And that was Mexico. With which band did Bing Crosby perform? Paul Whitman, the Dorsey Brothers, or Artie Shaw? Bing Crosby performed with Paul Whitman. Which computer company was formed on April 1st, 1976? IBM, Microsoft, or Apple? Apple was formed on April 1st, 1976. Which nation does Jose Lopez Portillo become president of in 1976? Colombia, Mexico, or Argentina? He becomes president of Mexico. What was the U.S. government's completed project in 1941? The Golden Gate Bridge, the Empire State Building, or Mount Rushmore National Memorial? They completed Mount Rushmore National Memorial. Which U.S. president made his debut appearance on color television? Eisenhower, Nixon, or Truman? On color television, it was President Eisenhower. Roger Chaffee, Edward White, and Virgil Grissom were what? Were they football players, astronauts, or U.S. senators? All three of them together were astronauts. Which well-known peace activist was killed in January 1948? Mahatma Gandhi, Rahendra Prasad, or Subhas Chandra Bose? It was Mahatma Gandhi. In 1952, the inaugural Miss Universe contest took place. Which country was the winner? Norway, Sweden, or Finland? And the winner was Miss Finland. What university completed the construction of the first digital computers in 1944? Princeton, Harvard, or the University of Pennsylvania? It was completed at Harvard. In 1967, which product was widely accessible for domestic use? The microwave oven, the Polaroid camera, or the felt-tipped pen? That was the microwave oven. Congress enacted the Taft-Hartley Act in 1947. What was the subject matter of the act? Education, the environment, or was it labor? It was labor. Which home design gained enormous popularity in the 1950s? The bungalow, the split level, or the ranch? The ranch became popular. Where was the World Fair Expo 67 held? Montreal, Tokyo, or Spokane? The 67 World's Fair was held in Montreal. On April 17, 1975, which nation's capital was taken over by the Khmer Rouge? Sri Lanka, Cambodia, or Thailand? That was Cambodia. Which war broke out on June 25, 1950? The Korean War, the Vietnam War, or the Cold War? That was when the Korean War broke out. Which transatlantic ship made its debut in 1967? The United States, the Normandy, or the Queen Elizabeth II? That was the QE2. Who received the Nobel Prize in Literature in 1970? Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Saul Bellow, or Samuel Beckett? In 1970, the winner was Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Which newspaper ran the famous headline error, "Dewey defeats Truman," in 1948? Was that the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the Chicago Tribune, or the New York Times? That was the Chicago Trib. When her father passed away on February 6, 1952, where was Queen Elizabeth II? Was she in Australia? Was she in Kenya? Or was she in Scotland? She was in Kenya. In the 1960s, what was SALT? Was it an anti-war group? Was it a rare disease? Or was it weapons discussions? The SALT Treaty was all about weapons discussions. Which nation was formally banned from all Olympic competitions on May 15, 1970? Was it South Africa, East Germany, or was it China? South Africa was banned. The Beatles' most recent live performance took place where? San Francisco, London, or New York? The most famous one was in London. The same movie won Best Picture and Best Actor Oscars in 1948. Give its name. Was it Key Largo, Hamlet, or Johnny Belinda? The movie was Hamlet. Which female tennis player won the Grand Slam for the first time in 1953? Maureen Connolly, Suzanne Lenglen, or Angela Mortimer? That was Maureen Connolly. Who did Gerald Ford choose to be his running mate? Ronald Reagan, Nelson Rockefeller, or Bob Dole? He chose Bob Dole. Which chain of photography supplied the royal family from 1936 to 1967? Wallace Heaton, Max Spielman, or USS David Bailey, Oregon? That was Wallace Heaton. In April 1979, which American city elected its first female mayor? Miami, Chicago, or San Francisco? And that was Chicago. The first James Bond book was authored by Fleming and was titled Casino Royale, Dr. No, or From Russia with Love. It was Casino Royale. Which were Sue Barton and Cherry Ames' professions? Secretary, astronaut, or nurse? And they were nurses. Where did the 1950 aircraft crash that was carrying the Welsh rugby players? Was it in Sigenstone, Cardiff, or Carnarvon? It was Sigenstone. Which actor starred in Bonnie and Clyde, 1967, as his featured debut? Richard Pryor, Gene Wilder, or Steve Martin? It was Gene Wilder. What conflict started in October 1973? The Indo-Pakistani War, the Yom Kippur War, or the Angolan Civil War? That was the Yom Kippur War. After 10 years of upheaval, which Asian nation unveiled plans for economic reforms in 1978? Vietnam, South Korea, or China? And that was China. Which 1967 occasion was dubbed the Ice Bowl? A football game, a figure skating contest, or a blizzard? The Ice Bowl was a football game. While on vacation in Georgia, what animal attacked President Jimmy Carter? Was it a bobcat? Was it a wild boar? Or was it a swamp rabbit? It was a swamp rabbit. What horrific tragedy rocked the entire world in November of 1963? The murders by the Manson family, a landslide at the Vajont Dam, Italy, or the assassination of President Kennedy? It was the assassination of President Kennedy. What currency did the U.S. Mint introduce in 1979? The bald eagle $5 coin, the Susan B. Anthony $1 coin, or the Andrew Jackson $1 coin? They issued the Susan B. Anthony $1 coin. Which television program did not conclude its broadcast in 1970? Get Smart, The Survivors, or Bewitched? And that was Bewitched. Which city in Europe hosted Expo 58? Berlin, Brussels, or Paris? And it was Brussels. The term Pueblo was used in the press throughout 1968. What was Pueblo? Was it a dance, a ship, or an automobile? It was a ship. Which of these cookie-cutter stadiums had its official opening in 1970? Three Rivers Stadium, Veterans Stadium, or Atlanta Fulton County Stadium? It was Three Rivers Stadium. In the 1940s, what speed limit was broken for the first time? Was it the sound barrier, the 4-minute mile, or the fastest underwater speed? It was the sound barrier. Who is deemed the most spectacular guitarist in the world by Life magazine? Was it George Harrison, Jimi Hendrix, or Eric Clapton? That was Jimi Hendrix. What was the Heidi Bowl? A football game, an ice hockey game, or a bowling championship? The Heidi Bowl was a football game. Which well-known writer was awarded the 1970 Nobel Prize in Literature? Saul Bellow, Pablo Neruda, or Alexander Solzhenitsyn? It was Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Again. What was Tet? A soft drink, a video game, the Lunar New Year? It is the Lunar New Year. Who traveled across the Pacific in a balsa wood ship and created history? Thor Heyerdahl, Francis Chichester, or Jacques Cousteau? That was Thor Heyerdahl. And now question 100. On April 6th, Hemisphere 68 opened in which American city? Las Vegas, San Antonio, or Phoenix? Hemisphere 68 took place in San Antonio. And that's it. That's all I've got for you today. Thank you for playing. Drop your score in the comments, please. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell so you don't miss more quiz time. Thanks for playing. We'll catch you in the next one.